And it is March 27, 2012. We will go quickly through the agenda, and if there are any items that we can consent or any continuances. Oh, wait, who are you pointing to? Stephanie. Oh, really? Okay. Are you filling that role now? No. Oh, okay. Oh, you don't? No. Oh, okay. Is somebody on their way? Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. All right, hold on just a second. Having some logistical issues. Okay. All right. Why isn't the CLA here? You know where the CLA is? Okay, can you give a call between items once I get rolling and you can call downstairs? Yeah, okay. All right, so for item 1, lease for Express News. Why don't we do this just to help things along? Items 6, 7, 8, and 9 are destruction of obsolete records. I think that we can just consent those items, and Madam, if you would just read those into the record, so 6, 7, 8, 9, so that we have that for as a matter of record.
On item 6, the destruction of record request is for the Department of Airports. Item 7 for City Clerk Election Division. Item 8 for the Police Department. And item 9 for Police Department as well.
Okay. Let's see. Actually, we have the majority of the committee there, unless they're here. If there is no objection, that'll be the order. Is there any objection to 6, 7, 8? Great. All right, that's 6, 7, 8, 9. So why don't we go back to 1?
On item 1, the Department of General Services has submitted a report relative to a lease with Express News located at 155A South Main Street at the Police Administration Building.
Okay, is there anybody here to report on item 1? Okay, why do you think there's no one here to report on 1? Okay, that's kind of weird. I mean, I would like to do this. I would like to have a staff report.
Okay.
Okay, I'll tell you what, why don't we continue it to the next meeting? Okay? Continue that one to the next meeting. It seems like it's not controversial, but I think in terms of a process, at the very minimum, I need to have a staff report on record before I take it forward to council. Okay, so let's do that. How about number 2?
Department of General Services again, an ordinance. This is a non-exclusive easement to Southern California Edison. This is for a building under the control of Department of Recreation and Parks. And this is for fiber optic cable.
Okay, do we have anybody here to report? Great, thank you.
Good morning, Dave Roberts, General Services. On item number 2, that is a lease agreement that an easement we're going to grant to Southern California Edison for an amount of $63,900.
Okay, and they're going to pay it in full?
They're going to pay us that amount.
In full?
In full, yes.
Okay, one payment?
Yes.
Okay, and then how long is this easement granted?
It's in perpetuity.
Okay, all right. And this is the fair market value?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
The original offer that they made to us was $5,100. We did an appraisal, and we came with a value of $82,000, and we negotiated it down to $82,000. Actually to $63,900.
Okay, great. Did you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, great. All right, that's approved without objection. Thank you very much. Item 3?
Item 3, the City Administrative Officer has submitted a report. This is relative to a lease amendment between the city and Kids in Sports. This is for an additional 15 years and for occupation of the second floor conference room. I'm sorry, second floor conference room is not part of the lease.
Okay, and then as you go into your explanation, explain why the second floor conference room is not part of the lease.
Were you allowed with the CEO's office?
Pull the mic closer.
Were you allowed with the CEO's office? The report before you is to amend the current lease with Kids in Sports at Expo Center. Apparently there were some confusion in the original agreement, if the shared conference room was part of the lease, and they've worked out with the nonprofit organization that it is not part of the square footage in the lease, but they can still use the facility. It's just that Rec and Park will be responsible for scheduling that conference room, so there'll be no conflict.
So that's a shared facility?
It's a shared- it's a shared room.
The conference room was a shared facility for
Right.
anyone?
Because we have city staff there as well. And then the other item on the lease amendment is extending the lease by 15 years, so you have a total of 30 years on this lease. It is a $1 lease, but they're providing valuable services to the city at the facility.
Okay. Any questions?
Is anyone here from KIS? No? Okay. No questions.
Okay, great.
We recommend approval of the report.
Okay, and the fiscal impact?
I'm sorry?
And then what is the fiscal impact of the general fund?
There is no impact to the general fund.
Okay, thank you very much. All
Thank
right, without objection, that'll be approved. All right, that takes us to item number 4.
On item 4, it will be a city administrative officer report, and this is a contract with Verizon California to continue to provide telecommunication services through CentroNet system to various small city facilities.
Good morning, Melissa Fleming with the CAO. The item before you is a request from ITA to execute a contract with Verizon to provide telephone services for a variety of city facilities. This includes about 1,600 telephone lines. The term of the proposed contract is 5 years with an annual anticipated compensation not to exceed $1.5 million or $7.5 million over the overall term of the contract. I'm joined at the table by representatives of ITA, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Representatives from ITA, would you like to share some information on this?
Good morning, council members. Mark Wolf with ITA, Executive Officer. We're very pleased to bring forward this contract proposal to you. It has significant cost savings for the city as compared to our prior year cost for this similar service. It's about a 50% reduction in cost, so I think it's an excellent contracting mechanism, and we're excited to move forward with it.
So this is a 5-year contract with a cap on it, correct?
That is correct.
And the cap is $7.5 million.
Yes.
And the proposed new rate of $3.56 per month for line usage is, sorry, okay, it's a little more than 50% less.
That is correct.
The old rate was $8.50 per month. Now, in terms of you comparing this to the old contract, is the time frame the same too, 5 years to 5 years, in terms of measuring the savings? I don't recall.
The existing contract that ITA has with Verizon is actually a 3-year term. In this particular case, the department was looking to have a 5-year term simply because of the cost savings that were achieved in negotiation with Verizon. It was unanticipated that we would be able to get any greater deal in the near future.
We've been their customer, they'd like to keep us, so they got smart and lowered the rates.
Correct.
Okay, all right, okay, that makes sense, and this is as low as they could go at this point?
That is
for 5 years?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any questions? All right, well, that'll be approved without objection.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next
5.
one is 5.
Information Technology Agency and the Department of General Services have submitted a joint report relative to the citywide cell phone review project.
Oh, great, all right. Please proceed.
Mark Wolf with ITA. The report before you is in response to a council motion introduced by Councilman Cardenas for ITA and General Services to report on opportunities for achieving cost savings for existing cellular phone services. In April last year, ITA issued a memo to all departments and elected offices discussing opportunities to optimize the monthly billing for cellular phone services. The 4 city carriers were listed with their lowest cost plans and equipment cost, and those examples were provided to departments where ITA and General Services showed them different opportunities for reducing their overall billing cost. ITA actually, examples were provided to illustrate how savings could be achieved by moving to a 0 flat rate, low cost per minute cellular plan. And ITA implemented this concept early on and achieved savings, departmental savings of approximately 30% in its monthly expenditures since January of 2011. And at the direction of Council, ITA and General Services formed a working group that reached out to departments to assist them in analyzing their usage, cellular phone usage. As a result of this work, and with the cooperation of city departments, the city is now realizing a cost savings of approximately $34,000 a month to date, or $408,000 annually. And this amount is anticipated to increase an additional $4,600 a month in the near term, as some remaining departments that are converting to a zero monthly plan are still in process.
Explain the zero monthly plan again.
So essentially, the amount that departments are billed for cellular phone use is strictly based on usage only. So if during a month period, if a individual does not use their phone, there's zero cost for that particular phone. And as we compared that plan to different fixed rates where it was based on hours of usage, we found that even with the different scenarios offered for the hours of usage, that the flat rate was by far much more cost effective. So that is what we have recommended for departments, and certain providers, one particular provider, T-Mobile, for example, they provide the lowest cost rate for all, as compared to the 3 other providers that the city does service with, and for the flat rate plan. And obviously for some individuals, geographically the coverage may not be workable for their particular locations. So based on that, departments or elected offices make the final decision to determine which provider coverage is best for the individual's particular use. So in general, ITA and General Services will continue to monitor departments' cellular phone plans on a periodic basis and report back with recommendations for continuing to enhance them as we go forward. The other thing I'd like to comment also on is, in addition to the work that we're doing with the departments, ITA and General Services has continued to negotiate more favorable terms with the carriers. So for example, with the zero monthly plans, now included in those plans are free nationwide calling, free mobile-to-mobile calling, and free nights and weekends. So we're continually working with General Services to even enhance greater the existing contracts that we have.
Other than your general awareness of what the market has to offer, what system do you have in place to constantly remind you or to trigger you on behalf of the department to continue to look at the services and the products that these various companies are offering to make sure that we are, the city is getting the most competitive deal possible? Do you check every 3 months or twice a year, or how do you do that?
Our staff is checking monthly.
Okay.
And meeting and reviewing the reports for department usage on a quarterly basis.
Okay. Good. Question?
Madam Chair, if I may, the city has 12,000 cell phones, I understand. Now, since this task to reduce the expenses, do we have an updated number from ITA?
We do not have an updated number. That's something we can come back to the committee with. But what we had actually advocated in prior discussions on this topic is, with mobile technology being a critical part today of normal business type operations, rather than reducing the number of devices, we're becoming more and more reliant on our mobile phones for accessing information near real time. So the more important fact in terms of productivity is to still have those phones deployed, but get better pricing for the usage of those devices.
Okay. And there seems that expenses have gone down about $400,000 a year. I've also heard that we can save up to $1 million. Is that true, or what accounts for that difference?
I'm not sure, Councilman, where you've gotten that figure from.
Through the controller's audit, that we can save an additional $1 million. I just want to know where that difference lies.
I could shed some light on that if you don't mind. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Before you got here, Joe, there was a lot of press on this issue, and it got some ink, but it was kind of like, ¿quién es más, who can give the biggest number? So there were some numbers thrown around by the controller and by some other elected officials in town. But what I really appreciate about the department is that they actually went through the methodical process of getting each department to cooperate, et cetera. So what we have before us are the numbers, and I think the potential, more realistically, might not be that high in a given year, but obviously over time, we will save millions of dollars over time. So I think that number, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that number really came out in the press.
I see.
It was kind of like, I think we can get to this amount, like name that tune, Once the department said, I think we're going to find hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings annually, and then all of a sudden, people were saying, well, I think we could save $1 million.
I see.
Thank you. Thank you for that
Thank you,
insight.
Madam Chair.
All right, any other questions, comments?
Yeah, if I can, Madam Chair, some of our city employees are using their personal cell phones. Is there a reimbursement plan that we provide? I'm proud of, I think all of my staff using their own personal cell phones. But in the event the city employee wants to come to us is there a reimbursement program for that reimbursement or to have city employees use their own cell phones?
Councilman, there currently is not any type of reimbursement program that's currently in place. As a result of the work that we have done, we have looked at a stipend-based model where rather than providing cell phones or smartphones to city employees, that we would look at a model where they would just receive a monthly reimbursement and use their own personal devices. And in looking at the cost difference between the flat rate model that we have today versus being able to move to a model where we're actually paying for a reimbursement amount, depending on where you set that target number for reimbursement, it's actually probably more cost effective to pay the lower rate. We didn't look at the option of having two different models, a stipend versus, also if you'd want a city-provided phone. But one of the things that we also looked at is that perhaps is something that CAO, Employee Relations, and City Attorney might take a closer look at, is there's also potentially privacy issues in regards to like California Public Records Act requests, where when you're mixing two different types of information on your mobile device, you possibly could be subject to then those types of requests. So I think that's another issue that would have to be looked at closer. So I think that there's nationwide what we're seeing is, although there was some hype to look into, to move forward with this type of an approach for cell phone usage for employees, I think that the number of issues related to it have kind of held it back.
Let me ask you a question. Just, I don't even know if this is possible. With my staff, I tend to communicate with them texting, and I think texting is less expensive than phoning. Am I correct?
It actually depends on the plan.
It depends on the plan. Okay.
Right. With the plan that we're recommending through T-Mobile, there's 400 free texts per month. Most of the vendors have some level of free texting as well. And the calls are 5 cents a minute with T-Mobile.
Yeah, texting is a way to pull people into your contract because it's kind of a teaser. So when bills come to the city, well, actually they are broken up by text and telephone call. So maybe you can take a look at this whole stipend analysis and create an incentive to push people more towards texting and less towards phoning.
Okay.
I mean, it's faster. Personally, I find it faster for me to communicate with staff by text than by telephone anyway. Sometimes when they're in meetings, they can't answer the phone, but they will answer a text.
Yes.
Right.
One last point. Each department and the city in general, don't we have a guideline policy on how to use your phones or what have you For example, the worst thing that could happen to a good person is that they might joke, say in a text, and all of a sudden a Public Records Act request comes in, and then it's taken completely out of context, and that could have a whirlwind of a problem, not only for that individual, but for a department in the city, et cetera. So there are guidelines, are there not, for the departments? Individual departments have their guidelines and recommendations for their staff, and do we have a citywide broad guideline?
There, Laura Ito with ITA, there aren't guidelines per se on how one would use a phone that's a combination personal
But kind of like
and
what
city
not
phone.
to do. Your phone is
But-
not for XYZ, you know.
Certainly, yes. Departments and as well as ITA has guidelines on how to use your city equipment, and yes, it would be for business use only.
City use
So,
only.
right, and for appropriate usage, yes.
But even somebody, going back and forth on a text on a city matter, and they make a joke at the end or something like that, I mean, people need to be reminded that those kinds of things, unfortunately, can lead to really big headaches for them and for the department. So if you could review that policy and make sure that it's very explicit on reminding people that, it's really not a good idea.
Certainly.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. No other questions or comments, and the action to be taken on this matter is a
No.
need to approve.
Note and file.
Note and
Note and file? Okay. All right, so we'll note and file without objection.
Thank you.
All right, any other, I think we consented 6, 7, 8, and 9?
The destroyed, yeah.
So do we have any other cards for public comment? No public comment? This is a part of the meeting where if there is an item on the agenda you wish to discuss, this is the time to come forward and speak. Seeing that no one's coming forward, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.